What's going on, folks? In this video, I want to talk to you about why you don't need more strategy sessions in your coaching / course business, okay? Selling with strategy sessions is one of the most common methods that people use, and I'm not here to say that they don't work. We've made a lot of money with strategy sessions, and they definitely work. But the problem I see is people are just consistently trying to fill up their calendar with more and more calls when there's other parts of their process that are completely broken, which are resulting in these calls being completely inefficient and a downright waste of time, okay? The common solution to fixing your strategy session conversion problem is get a better script. That's what most people will say. It's like you need to change something on the call, right? What I want to present to you today is an alternative to that, which is actually look away from the call. Look what's happening before the call. Look what's happening after the call in a couple of different ways. And that will drastically cut down on your time on the phone and will skyrocket your conversions. And a really cool byproduct of what I'm going to talk you through today is that if you do these things well, you can eliminate calls altogether and you'll be able to close directly in Messenger, be that Facebook, Instagram, whatever, without doing calls altogether, which is really cool. Okay, what I'm going to cut over to today is a live I did in my Facebook group where I talk about this topic. It's quite long, goes into a fair bit of detail, but if you sell courses, coaching, consulting, digital affiliate products, and you're stuck on the phone all day and you want to make more and you want to spend less time on the phone or eliminate it altogether, I think you're going to take a lot out of this one. Okay, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to give this video a like if you get any value from it. Check out that first link in the description. It's going to show you how the method we use to craft offers, and you're going to see a live example of one that did $45,000 in 11 days. So be sure to click that link and check out that example if you sell courses, coaching, consulting, blah, 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 all that kind of jazz, all right? I'm going to cut over to the video now and let's do it. Talk to you soon. Ta.
My name's Jacob, obviously. I've been in this game since 2017. Started out as an affiliate. Won a bunch of awards as an affiliate, ClickFunnels Dream Car, Legendary Marketer Platinum Award, KBB Impact Award, and then teamed up with a couple of guys and we bundled up our knowledge around the affiliate marketing game and released a program called the Super Affiliate Accelerator. Still runs to this day. If you want to get into a high ticket affiliate marketing game, you can message me about that. But that's what we won the 2 Comma Club with behind me, and then all the lessons and stuff from building now a near on multi-million-dollar course. I expanded my brand out and now we help folks with information marketing more generally, which still includes affiliate offerings, because that's, it's the same stuff. It's just someone else's checkout form. The fundamentals are the same. So that's what we do day in and day out. And you're welcome to join my Facebook group. This is going live on my profile as well. So if you aren't a member of the group, hit me up and we can get you in there. And if you sell stuff in that, $1,000 to $30,000 range, that's kind of expert based courses, coaching, live events, even SaaS, consulting, digital affiliate products, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to help you sell more of it. We focus on keeping things really simple, and seems to work pretty well for us and our clients. So wanted to touch on a particular topic today, and being on Facebook, this is particularly pertinent. Folks love their strategy sessions, right? And I was having a chat with a lovely guy yesterday, who may end up being a client, which would be cool, about his business. And he made a comment, which is fully reasonable. And he said, I need to get better at closing, which totally makes sense. How well we know our sales process inside and out, and how quickly we can kind of be nimble and pivot and all that kind of jazz is critically important. For most folks on Facebook, what that looks like is, so just for context, my more active followers will have heard me say this 1,000,001 times, but for the new folks, let me give you some context. I think about this business in 3 core pillars strategically. You've got your content, which is how you communicate with your audience, like a Facebook Live like this. You've got your sales process, which could be a funnel, could be a messenger conversation, could be a strategy session if that's what you do. And then you've got your offer is the third pillar. And those 3 interact with each other, and how well you do in each of them is going to
dictate how much work you need to do in the other parts. So what I mean by that is if your content game is really, 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 really strong, right, and your offer is really, 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 really strong, and this is relevant to what we're going to talk about today, your sales process can be very, 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 very simple. Okay, I think folks look at tools and think that that's the solution when they need to look at everything from a broader, bigger picture perspective and see how the different parts interact with each other. So that's just a little bit of kind of background story. Anyway, this gent said needs to get better at closing, which totally makes sense. But it sparked this thought pattern for me, which I thought was something that would be beneficial to folks, especially on Facebook, where people are just trying to book as many strategy sessions. And look, I'm not shitting on strategy sessions. We've made a fortune with strategy sessions. We don't really do them anymore. We take a different approach to things now, but they work, right? Like it's a fundamental process. I mean, it's very similar to what we used to do back when I used to work in consulting in Australia and in New York, right? All you're doing is talking to someone about where they are now, where they want to go, and helping them build a plan to get there, and then saying, hey, do you want help executing on that plan? Like it's a fundamental process. So I'm not like some folks who like to just sit out here and say, oh, you have to use our method and nothing else fucking works. Like it's ridiculous, but it does work. But what doesn't work is if there's like breaks in your overall process and you think the solution is just pumping more and more and more strategy sessions into your business, right? And just filling up your calendar more, right? Because all you're doing is putting gas into a car that has a giant hole in the gas tank, right? It's like you can keep doing that, but like, what's the point? It's so inefficient, and you will burn out, right? And I think some people who aren't making money look at folks who are making sales or doing really well in their business, and they're like, well, I don't really care. Like, I just want to be making money, and I understand that to a degree, but what you find with people is what they think is their kind of heaven can very quickly become hell once they get there and they realize how painful it is. This mentality of just more and more and more and more strategy sessions, what does that ultimately look like? It looks like a full calendar, right? It's Monday morning for me. I have no calls today. I have 2 one-to-one clients tomorrow. I have a live that I join from time to time on a Wednesday morning. I have a mastermind that I'm part of that I learn from on a Thursday morning. And then I have a call with my inner circle folks on Thursday morning. And that's my week in terms of call commitments, right? It's very, very lean, and it's done that way on purpose. The polar opposite of that is a calendar that is completely chockers. And you'll see these people, they almost do it as like a flex, right? Like they post on Facebook, they're like, look how full my calendar is. And some people in the comments will be like, oh my God, you're so organized. It's amazing. To me, that looks like hell, right? Like I lived that life. I lived in that world in corporate where you didn't have a second to breathe. And it was just meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. And I didn't start an online business to have, one arm chained to this desk 24 hours a day because I need to be here doing Zoom call strategy sessions or managing 1,000 people doing 1,000 calls a week. Like, to me, that sounds like hell. And so if to you that also sounds like hell and you'd like more freedom, rather than trying to pump more and more volume into strategy sessions, what I would encourage you to do, at least temporarily, is pause and zoom out and appreciate that there's other things you can look at to fix your sales process. Okay. Like if you look at the strategy session in isolation, there's some things you can do to fix it. Okay. Obviously getting more proficient at your scripting, right? Like what questions do you ask? How deep do you go? How quickly can you figure out if someone is wasting your time or not once you're on that call? There's some levers you can pull to make the call more efficient, right? But
Where I see bigger opportunity, and I think folks are not looking at this enough, is actually looking away from the strategy session and realizing that there's some levers you can pull out there that will have a bigger impact on the actual strategy session, right? So it's kind of counterintuitive, because our natural reaction would be, okay, I'm only closing my strategy sessions at 10%, whatever, right? Like 1 in 10 calls. And I know most people's strategy sessions go for 45 minutes, an hour. And 10% may seem low, but I know there's folks out there who are pumping volume and closing at 10%. The obvious solution is to look at the strategy session and go, okay, well, how do we change the strategy session to make it better and convert better? Like, how do we more aggressive on the phone? Or what's that ninja question that I need to ask in the first 5 minutes to make sure that I'm closing the deal? Like, that's where folks will put their attention. And what I'm encouraging you to do is actually look away from the strategy session, right? And realize that there's these other variables that I'm going to talk about that will have a bigger impact on how well you close on your strategy sessions, if you want to keep doing them, than actually anything you can do on the call, if that makes sense. Okay. The cool thing is, if you do the stuff that I'm going to talk about, you can eliminate them altogether if you want to, right? If you want to. But some folks want to do them. That's totally okay. But these fundamental shifts that I'm going to talk about will allow you to stop doing those calls if you want to. From time to time, we'll do something that I call a seal the deal call. And that's where, we might put a 15-minute call in the calendar with myself or someone from the team. And it's just a chat with someone who has all the information about a program or a product, right? So it's a very product-centric call. They know the investment, all that kind of stuff. And it might just be either from our end to 100% clarify that they're the right fit, or from their end just to ask a couple more questions, right? But it's not like getting on the phone for free coaching or any of that shit, okay? So that's where we use it from time to time, but pretty infrequently. For the most part, I can send a couple of voice messages, or someone from the team can send a couple of voice messages, and it's done. There's a dynamic between time and money that most people don't think about when they're selling their stuff. And it's a lot of people are trying to sell high ticket, and they say, I want to attract higher quality people, blah, 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 blah. People who'll spend more money traditionally have less time, right? Because they're busy making money. That's not everybody, but it's a general rule that you can kind of stick by. And so having a sales process that for them isn't time efficient is kind of repelling people that have a lot of money, right? Just something to think about. They probably don't want to spend an hour on a strategy session with you, and yet you're trying to attract people with money. So think about that dynamic. So let's talk about these other factors then, right? So Jacob's here. He said, you don't need more strategy sessions. So what do you do? Okay. Well, there's a couple of levers to pull. All right. I just saw James's comment. The Glenfiddich bottle is upside down. It's the case. It's just a case. The bottle is somewhere else. The bottle's behind the DJ Caris poster. Yeah, no, it's just the case. James just sent me a message and told me that he finished selling out his beta program. So well done to you, dude. Bumping his prices up to 10 grand, which is nice to see. James is another example of someone who we've helped with their core offer, which is awesome. Julio. Diagnosing the problem to see if I can help and qualifying while controlling the conversation is the key, and overcoming objections before they arise. Diagnosing the problem to see if I can help and qualifying while controlling the conversation is key. Yeah, that's very important. And overcoming objections before they arise. Yeah, they're all interesting comments, Julio, that will weave into what I'm going to talk about. All right. Who else we got on? Mark, what's going on? Heather, Adam, Kevin, a couple of Facebook users. If you guys can click that link, that'd be really appreciated. If you're sitting silently, drop me a comment, let me know. I was saying off the top, I've been getting back into the swing of doing these lives, and I've been really enjoying it. And I've had quite a few folks reach out and let me know that they're getting value from them. So if you too are, don't be afraid to slide on into my DMs or leave a comment and let me know. And I typically respond in my comment based on in my content. I want to bring stuff that's helpful. So that's how I look at things. All right, cool. So what are these other things we can look at? All right, like this is literally a topic I could talk about for weeks, but I'll try to give you the condensed 101 while we're here. There's a couple of different phases. So like I said off the top, I need to put the air conditioning on. It's getting seriously hot in here. I've got like this fucking sun coming in. I mentioned off the top the 3 phases, right? So we've got what happens before your sales process, your offer. All right. The clue is in the before, the offer, and the after. Okay. There's stuff in all of those phases that will, in my opinion, probably have a bigger impact on your closing rates than any script or anything like that, right? You need a script, you need a framework, you need to know what you're going to talk about, especially for beginners. Eventually you'll get to a point where you can just kind of flow with it. But you need a structure, right? But if you're trying to get more juice out of the, whatever fruit you like, there's factors in those other pillars that are going to have a bigger impact. Okay. So if we start at the beginning, it's always a good place to start, right? How you communicate with your people, your content. Okay. I think people think about content and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to, post some stuff, right? Which is fine to begin with and to get you moving, but eventually you want to be a bit more deliberate about your content. Okay. And people separate their I don't think they think about how their content impacts their sales process, right? When they are separate things, but they ideally one should directly flow into the other. So therefore it would make sense to put messaging out into the world that is going to make your life easier when it comes to the sales process. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. So then on that basis, what are the things that we need to be thinking about in our content to effectively do that? Okay. If all you create is really short form content with like screenshots of your results, and then you go, here's some numbers, let's book a call. Fine. It works 100%. But it's going to be a longer sales process, right? Like you're going to need to spend time communicating with those people about exactly what it is you do, how you can help them, all that kind of stuff, because your content hasn't covered it, right? There's certain things that people need to know in order to be sold. And you can either do that in your content, which has leverage because, I can go live, hundreds of people can see this, or I could explain this to each of you one-to-one in a conversation or on a call, right? And so for me, I prefer putting more into the content game because one, I can create a piece of content that hundreds, if not thousands of people across the multiple platforms that I'm on can see. And two, when I create a piece of content, it becomes an asset, right? Be it a post, a live, a video, whatever, it becomes an asset that I can use and reuse and reuse and reuse and reuse, right? Whereas a conversation I have with someone in Messenger, there might be a couple of ways I could spin that into an asset, but the use of it is a lot more limited. So for me, the distilling that messaging down into content is a better use of time because it's capturing my energy and it's going to allow me to have something I can use over and over and over again. That's why I like it. It's more energy efficient. Okay. So if we think about the strategy session, right? Like what do you cover on that, right? You talk to folks about where they're at. You talk to folks about where they want to go. You talk to folks about what they're struggling with. You talk to folks about what roadblocks they've faced. You talk to them about what they've tried before. And then you tell them about how you do things and your plan of attack. You overcome objections, right? And then you make them an offer and you incentivize them to act now, okay? We can do all of those things in our content, all of them, right? And so it's a different way of doing things. You're doing them at scale as opposed to one-to-one, but it's a hell of a lot more energy efficient. So thinking about, okay, if I want to make my sales process better, maybe I should start those factors earlier, right? Those things that we're going to talk about anyway, maybe I should start doing that earlier, because the more time they've got to sit and mull on it, the more likely it is to sink in, right? And like this same goes for price, all those kind of things, right? Like, if you think about, if you see a car that you really like on the street, and then you go and Google it and you're like, oh, it's 200 grand. Initially, you might be like, oh, 200 grand. That's, that's a lot of money. Well, it depends on the individual, but let's just use that as an example. And then you give it a week, you give it 3 weeks, you see a few more of them. You start to, your brain starts to make you see more of them on the street because now you're paying attention to it. Then you see an ad from them and they're like, oh, we've got 2% financing and 0% down, and you can have a 40% balloon, and the repayments are only whatever a week. And you start to justify it in your head, right? That's a factor. That's a factor of time, because you have longer to sit with that price, and then you start to come up with ways to justify it. So a key factor in making your sales process more effective is how long people have spent with you before they get there, right? Again, this is counterintuitive because people are trying to go from like cold to sold like that, which means they're never really building up a pipeline, right? I was chatting with a client the other day who had a call with somebody, and it's just interesting hearing different ways that people go about doing things. You can either be really high pressure or you can be really low pressure. And like if people say no to me, it's fine, because we've got a huge pipeline of people coming through, right? It's like, if you don't buy today, you might buy tomorrow. We obviously want to incentivize people to start earlier, but when you've got confidence in your pipeline, you don't need high pressure bullshit, right? And so let's think about that content game, right? The big things I want you thinking about first and foremost. Okay, so what are the major pains and problems that my people face, right? Just to get a little bit meta with you all, for the 17 people that are currently watching live and anyone that checks this out in the replay, that's what I'm doing right now, right? Pains and problems that face your market. I know a common one for people that we talk to is they're like, I want more strategy sessions. And it's like, well, do you really? Or is there something else we can do that's going to be better so that you can actually see your wife and your kids and your husband and your dog and your cat and get outside and get some sun and live? Like, is there a better way than back-to-back 45-minute strategy sessions with people who don't have a fucking clue who you are day in and day out all week? And I'm not shitting on the strategy session, but I'm saying understand that there's other variables and other levers that you can pull in your business, right? So that's one. That form of content is really powerful, right? And it's a great mechanism to get people's attention, okay? Because think about it. If you're sitting with a problem and you drive past a big fucking billboard that says, like the copy would ideally be better, but do you have this problem, right? Or are you experiencing this? And it very accurately describes your situation. Call this number now. You're probably going to pay attention to it, right? It's a great hook, because we're like, our brain is conscious of our problems, right? And look, I'm no neuroscientist, so I'm not going to get into it, but we see shit and we pay attention to shit that directly impacts us, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've experienced this. It's the same as that like car thing, right? Like as soon as you start paying attention to a certain type of car because you're like, I might want to buy it, you'll see them everywhere on the road. Whereas before, you've probably seen 1,000 of them drive past in the last couple of months and you've never paid attention to it, right? And so you want to you want to kick it off, right, with, well, what are those pains, problems, what are they experiencing? And and you need to get deeper than like, are you frustrated in your business? Like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? You need to get more dialed in, more specific, okay? And so here's something to think about, right? If you've got an audience of 1,000 people, right? And I'm going off on a slight tangent here, but it gives context to what I'm talking about. If you've got an audience of 1,000 people, right? Imagine you've got a spectrum from 1 to 10. At any point in time, and that's relative to your core product that you're trying to sell, okay? 1 to 10, right? At any one point in time, your 1,000 people in your audience are scattered across that spectrum. Some people are like 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s and are like getting really close or about to give you money. You've got, I'm going backwards, but it's fine. You've got 4s, 5s, and 6s who you've got their attention, right? Something that you've done or said or put out into the world, or something they've heard from somebody else has grabbed them and they're actually paying attention to you. So you talk to those people about something. And then you've got the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s who they know of you, but they're still early in their customer journey with you, or their prospect journey. And they've still got a journey to go through with you, which is fine, right? Like, we're in this for the long game. The problem is you've got people offering strategy sessions to the 1s, 2s, and 3s who are like, wait, like who the fuck are you? And then they wonder why they get on the phone with these people and they're answering all of these stupid questions about like, hang on, what do you do? Who do you help? Right? And then the call ends up being an hour. And then at the end, they're like, oh, I got to talk to my goldfish. Right? Like, that's why, because of the people in the process aren't ready for that. Right? And so understanding that you've got an audience who's all along this spectrum relative to your product, we then need to communicate with people who are in different phases. Okay. And I'm being really high level with you guys here, but this will give some context. So on the content side of things, the folks in that 1 to 3 zone, if we communicate with them clearly about, hey, is this pain or problem or thing that you're going through, is this you, right? Like, because we deal with this, we help people with this, and that will grab them. So that's a good way to grab those people in the 1 to 3s. The people in the 4 to 6s, kind of 7s range, once you've got their attention, right, and they see you as someone who might be able to help them out, then you shift things up more to, well, okay, so how do we actually fucking do that, right? Like, what's the plan of attack in order to do that? And this isn't like one-to-one coaching or 8 modules or 12 weeks. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like, what's the roadmap of things that you're going to go through, right? We're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And that's going to get you from here to here. That's going to mean you stop doing that thing that you're frustrated with. You get that out of your life and you still achieve the goal that you're chasing, right? So what's the plan to make it happen? And then the kind of the 7s, the 8s, 9s, and the 10s are like, in the process of grabbing their wallet. Those people probably are very, very in tune with the fact that they have this problem and that you're someone that can help them, right? They have heard about your plan if you've been communicating it and what you do and how you help people, and they're still around. So they're sold on that, right? In delivering that content, you should be doing it in a way that is, and I don't want to sound too cliche and woo-woo, is truly you, right? And what I mean by that is just that you're not putting on this fake persona that when people buy from you, they're then going to get a completely different person. So you want them to know who you are, and you're going to weave your just general views on business and life into your content. That should come pretty naturally to folks. I think it doesn't come naturally where people are speaking out of turn and they're talking about stuff that they don't really have experience with, because they have to create this like highly curated fucking character that isn't reality and isn't built on a foundation of experience, but rather is built on a foundation of theory, I think it's a problem then. But assuming that's not you, those things should come through in the content. And then those people in the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, what are we communicating with them about? That's where the objections start to pop up, right? Like if I walk into a shop and I see a t-shirt that I really like, that's when I look at the price tag. If I see a hideous t-shirt, unless I'm, taking the piss out of it and want to laugh and see how expensive this hideous t-shirt is, right? But let's think about a logical buying process. If I see something I like, then I'll look at the price tag. If I don't like it, I don't give a shit about the price, right? Then I'm like, oh, that's expensive. Now I've got an objection, right? So when something grabs me and I like it, that's when the objections start to come up, because now I'm weighing up, do I want this thing or do I want my money? Or the time that it's going to, it's going to take 3 weeks for us to get your size shipped out to you, and I've got to go to a wedding on the weekend. Like, then the objections start to come up, right? Or maybe we can get you one from a different store. You'll be able to get it Friday. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's when you're kind of sold on that as the thing, that's when the objections and the more logistical stuff starts to pop up, price included. And that's why we create content that handles objections, right? So thinking about what are people's objections and just trying to handle them in your content. And then once we've done that, for those people that are like the 8s, 9s, and 10s, then particularly the 9s and 10s, right? They might be there and they've got their money in hand, but they're like frozen, right? They're like stuck. They can't quite tip it over the edge, right? That's why we create content that encourages action. Okay. And you've got tactics that can do this: deadlines, scarcity, urgency, scarcity, all that kind of stuff, right? Limited time offers. But you can encourage action through your content as well, with stories, with testimonials, by showing people the cost of doing nothing, right? If you've got $1,000 product that you know is really, really good, and you could live in a world where you sell one of those a day, that's $30,000 a month, that's $360,000 a year, right? Every month that goes by, you're losing $30,000. If you've got someone who you feel like can help you because they've done that and they've helped other people do that over and over and over again, and it costs you $5,000, what the fuck are you waiting for? Right? You can do that through showing people that there's a cost of doing nothing as well. I think we fall into this trap of feeling like there's only a cost of doing something if we do the wrong thing, which I in this world anyway, in most cases, it's either the right thing or there's a good lesson behind it. But there's a cost of doing nothing, right? The opportunity cost, which people neglect to think about. And so you can highlight that for people, and that's a great way to encourage action, through stories about clients who were on the fence and decided to jump in, through stories about people who were on the fence and decided not to jump in, and they're still where they were before, right? Like horror stories, they work too, right? You don't want to do them all the time because you don't want to be a brand that just spends all day like berating people about you made the wrong fucking decision, and you want some positivity and energy around your brand, but it's a mechanism, right? You guys get the point. So for those people who are close to buying, they've got their money in hand and they're ready to go, you just need to tip them over the edge, right? And there's a few different ways that you can do that. So on the front end, like we can go way deeper on that, but you've got these people on a spectrum of 1 to 10, however many people are in your audience, they're somewhere, right? They're somewhere. And there's some different methods to communicate with the people in the different buckets. Okay. Now, I don't want like the highly logical people are going to go, well, what sequence do I post in? Okay. And I need the highly logical people to take a step back and chill out and realize that this is why I say content is a cumulative game. Like one day you could be talking to a 9. And what I mean by that is like communicating with the people who are on the fence. Like you could be trying to integrate some urgency or telling them a story about someone that took quick action and now XYZ has happened, right? And then the next day you could be talking about a basic pain or a problem.
The point is, it's not about some perfect linear content strategy where on Mondays we post this, on Tuesdays we post this. Like, that's not what it's about. It's about, am I communicating with the people at different phases of the prospect journey, so that one, I'm nudging new people along, and two, I'm tipping those people at the end over the edge, right? Because what happens then is they tip over the edge, but then new people come in, right? And so that keeps replenishing if you're generating traffic. But then the people that drop over the edge, they drop onto a new spectrum, which is for your next product, right? So if you've got a 5K and a 25K, you work them along that spectrum, they drop the 5, then they drop down onto a new spectrum for the 25, right? It's easier to move them along that one because the first conversion's already happened, and they can accelerate quickly from a 1 to a 9 if they get results, right? So this one's easier. This one's way easier. This is like, hey, you did well with this. Do you want to do this other thing? Or do you want to take this further? It's 25 grand. And it seems overly simplistic, but legitimately, that's how it can happen. So there's some stuff in there around content. That's where I'd start. That will serve well to attract and repel as well, right? Attract and repel. Then once you're in dialogue with people, so let's say your content drives people to Messenger. Your goal shouldn't be to convert as many of those conversations as possible into calls. It just shouldn't be. Your goal should be to repel as many of the wrong people as possible, because then you're optimizing for protecting your time and your energy, as opposed to optimizing for how can I give as much of it away as possible. This is just my opinion, right? Some people may tell you differently. This is my opinion. And I'm very like, one of my biggest pet hates is people who waste my time and energy. Like, it can be like terminal for our relationship. If like asking questions and stuff like that's all fine, but people who deliberately go about wasting your time, like, I'd rather they steal money from me. I mean, I wouldn't like that, but you guys get my point, right? So thinking about what you're optimizing for, you want to be pushing people away. You want to be repelling people. The funny thing is, the more you do this, the more people are actually going to want to work with you, because you kind of become like a prize to them, right? And this is where you're going to have strength and willpower to say no. No, I don't want to work with you. No, I don't think I can help you. No, I don't think our styles align, right? You will get to a point where you have to say no, right? We say no to people nearly every day. And this is because my tolerance for the wrong type of people is just like, there's just no scope for it, because I don't need another sale. I don't want the bad energy. It's just not worth it, right? And I would encourage you to have that approach from earlier on. I understand there's a phase where you need to make the money and get the cash flow going. I get it. But that cash won't stick around for long if you hate your business. This is a long game. And I sit here now in 2022 talking to you all, having been doing it since 2017 very consistently, especially since 2018 when I went full time. And I can tell you there's a lot of names and a lot of faces who did very, 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 very well along the way and aren't here anymore, because they didn't build something that could grow, and they didn't build something that was sustainable, right? Like, if your entire business is built on somebody else doing 90% of the work for you, that's fine. You'll make some money. But I'm talking to our affiliates here. But understand that has a lifespan, right? You need to be learning how to do things for yourself as well. Just a side tip there.
So it's got to be sustainable. So the earlier you start optimizing for the stuff that's really important to you and attracting the right people for you, the better. The byproduct is that you're going to make more money and you're going to have way more fun. And when you have more fun, more people around you are going to win, and then that creates a compounding effect. These are all. I'm not telling you guys this stuff from like some fucking book I read. I'm telling you because I've been through the ups and downs of this for the last 5 years, seen the best of it, seen the worst of it, and you guys are just hearing distilled down epiphanies, effectively. So in that messenger conversation, sorry, I keep going off in tangents, but in that messenger conversation, you want to be optimizing to repel, in my opinion, right? I had a mentor once teach me that sales is about sorting people, and it couldn't be more true, right? So you want to be repelling. You want to get as much information on the table before that call as possible, right? Like for me, I want to get on the phone if I'm going to get on the phone, right? And there'd have to be a very particular situation, have to be a big enough deal, all those kind of things. But I want that person to know about the offer that I'm going to make them, the price that it's going to be, and we should really just be there to answer any questions about making sure it's 100% a good fit for both of us, not just for them, for both of us. And selfishly, a little bit more for me, right? Like if I was taking on like a 50K one-to-one client, we might do a quick call to confirm a few things, confirm expectations, right? But getting on calls where people have next to no information before, you're opening yourself up to very long calls, very frustrating calls, very objection heavy calls, and a calendar, to me, that I'd rather have a job. Okay. Beyond the messenger conversation, if you're using some kind of funnel, you want to double down on that optimization to repel, right? Questionnaires, forms, telling people there's an investment, right? Every opportunity, pushing people away. Because what you're effectively moving people towards is letting them into your life, right? Like a chunk of time with you. And I'm being slightly like, I'm exaggerating, but I'm trying to prove the point here. Like it's effectively like we're sitting down at the desk for 45 minutes and you've got a part of my day that I'm never going to get back. And so I only want to spend that with the right people. Like it's like, it makes sense, right? It does to me anyway. Like I can't understand this let everybody in mentality, and then people bitch and moan when they're like, my time's wasted. It's like you allowed people in that had no clue why they were there. It may just be what you've been taught, but it's what you've done, right? Like we all need to take responsibility for our own kind of things that we do in our business. So then beyond the messenger conversation, what other roadblocks are you putting in place? What funnels, what questionnaires, what, like how transparent are you being, right? Like I have a private client who helps folks with TikTok, and she took the drastic steps, which I fucking love, of on her profile, telling people, hey, welcome to my world. I sell stuff and this is how much it is. Like within the first 2 minutes. Amazing. Some people aren't going to like that. I do. I think it's cool. Right? If you want to test this in practice, lead out in your conversations with the investment. Happy to have a chat. The main thing I work with folks on costs. If that's cool with you, we can proceed. If that's not within your budget right now, there's probably no point in us going further at this point in time, but we can definitely reconnect in the future when you are in a place to make an investment of that quantity. Right? I'm not saying that's the best sales strategy, but if you want to try it, that's how you can try it real quick. So the short of what I'm trying to say here is the more you put on the table before you ever pick up that phone. I know people don't use these, mostly it's Zoom, but before you get on the call, the better. That's why I said off the top, the bigger needle movers for your calls are actually away from the call. And that's kind of two pieces. That's stuff going on in messenger conversation, where you send them between the messenger conversation and the call, and what happens before the messenger conversation, right? All key variables. Okay. I've got two more for you before we wrap up, because this has gone way longer than I anticipated. But there's still some people hanging around, so we'll keep going. The next thing is your offer, right? You can ignore everything I've set up until this point. If you make a strong offer, you could have basic content and a one question sales process, which is like, or a one line sales process, which is like, here's the thing. I got a little story about this too. And let the offer do all the heavy lifting, or 90% of the heavy lifting, right? So what we ideally want to do is we want to stack all that stuff that I just spoke about with a strong offer, which means that the sales process starts to collapse on itself and becomes a very, very tiny part of the overall process. If you want to protect your energy and if you want to optimize for leverage, because think about it, what can't you extract more future value from? It's the conversations in Messenger and on the phone, right? There's only so much you can do with those things. They're like one and done. Piece of content like this, like a written piece, right? Or an offer, especially in the way we do them by creating an offer document, right? They're assets. I can sit down for a couple of hours in an afternoon and I can crank out an offer that can make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 grand, right? That's an asset. So for me, with the help of Travis in particular, he's really highlighted this for me. I'm big on optimizing for protecting my energy. And a way of doing that is capturing my energy, and you capture your energy in building assets, content, offers, right? So for me, I'm looking at pushing my time and energy into leveraged things, which is the stuff I just spoke to you about. Systems and stuff are the same, right? Like you build them once and they go to work for you every single day. SOPs, like all that kind of shit. And so on the offer, it's making it really, really attractive. And I'm not going to go into the depths of offer creation on this call because we'd be here all day. But looking at things like, is the offer clearly aligned to the stuff that I'm talking about beforehand, right? Do the pain points align? Does the plan align? All that kind of shit. And then two big things to think about are who's taking on more risk here, right? And this is especially for folks that don't have the strength and time in market behind their brand yet. Brand is the long game, right? Brand is the ultimate in the long term, in my opinion, right? But it takes time. So the shorter game to short circuit, not yet having the brand, is the offer, right? So how do we de-risk it, right? As an example, we're rolling out a beta at the moment to help folks dialing in their core offer. Okay. The pricing on that, fully transparent with you all, currently is $6K. We're doing a $1K discount because it's in beta, which means people need to be patient while we build it out. There's also perks to getting in early into these things. You get more intimate attention, all those kind of things. So that gets us down to $5K. And then we're letting folks pay $3 now and $2,000 after they make $10,000. So that's a pricing strategy to take risk off the table for people, right? Eventually, that program is going to be a 5K upfront once we're rocking and rolling, and we'll maneuver a few things around the pricing strategy. But that's just an example of what I'm talking about, right? Things like that take risk off the table for people, right? And we'll continue to work with them until they're well in the green. That's how you can make your offer more desirable. There's a ton of ways to do it. That's just kind of one quick example. But that will make your life easier as well. The
one end of the spectrum with all this is you've got people who, like, imagine this scenario. You're getting on phone calls with people who have no clue who you are, no clue what problem you solve. A lot of them aren't even clear on what their own problem is, which is even fucking worse. They have no idea about your credentials or who you've helped, right? They have no time invested in your brand, right? Which is key because it's kind of like it's a cost of time to them. So the more they invest, the easier it becomes, but just another topic. They don't really know what's going on. You've got a shitload of explaining to do. And then you present them with an offer where you're expecting them to take all the risk. That's like the worst case situation, but that's what the majority of people are doing. And then they wonder why they're wasting their days on strategy sessions, closing at terrible rates and not getting paid. That's what's happening. So what I'm trying to walk through with you here is the fixes to those things. And it's not in the call. It's in what happens before the call and what gets presented right at the end of the call, which is actually the offer, not the call. It's not about like how you reveal the price. It's about the offer. Right? Is this helpful? We got 15 folks on. I've been rambling for way longer than I anticipated, but is this helpful? I got one more piece for you that is something that I've kind of secretly been doing for a couple of years now that I help my inner circle folks with it, but I'll share it with you all if you guys want to hear it. Let me know in the comments though. Is there any light bulbs going off? Like I like Rambles Facebook user who I don't know who that is. Extremely helpful Facebook user. Can you guys click the link so I can see your names? I want to know who I'm talking with. Awesome. Kevin, appreciate it. Adam, Sick, Christian, Dennis. Awesome. And to the folks watching this, I promise you, if you think about stuff this way, 99% of the market isn't thinking like this. Right? Julio, appreciate it. 99% of the market isn't thinking like this. So you are getting such a leg up on the game. I promise you. Robin, gotcha. Appreciate you. The last one. This is what happens after they buy. Okay. And this kind of splinters off into a bunch of things, but bear with me. After they buy, right? Good experience, get results, all that kind of stuff. But what that does, got you, Cody. Appreciate it, man. But what that does, it's not so where people most stop in their where most people stop in their thinking is like, yeah, I got people results. I can share that. That's great. That works. But what you want to do is the people that you really help and the people you get results is encourage them to talk about you. Okay? Because we're going full circle here. The people they tell about you who come in, if we go back to that spectrum, they're your new one. No, which went where would this end? I think they're your new ones on the 1 to 10 spectrum, right? They're not ones for long because they come into your world, but because they've got this voice in the back of their head from your previous client who told them, right? And there's another way this manifests, which I'll tell you about too, but who told them how amazing you are. They're only a 1 for like a second when they find your world. And then they very quickly accelerate to like a 4, 5, 6, 7 because Sally told them that you're the most amazing person at doing X, Y, and Z, and they have to talk to you and they have to buy your thing because of what happened for Sally. Right? So you can actually accelerate that spectrum massively before my hand signals are getting crazy over here. People will be watching this with no noise and I'm fucking waving around. Before they ever even start. All right. That referral traffic is the best traffic, period. Like, end of story. You can let people argue about ads and organic and TikTok. They can all have it.
I'll take a referral lead every single day of the week. Every single day. Right? Encouraging your people to talk to other people about you. Doing interviews with your clients, in your audience, in their audience, all that kind of stuff. Right? The best traffic you'll ever get. If you combine that traffic, right? Here's a big secret. If you combine that traffic with the content game that I just outlined for you, you repel like crazy in Messenger, and you have good offers, you will have the most energy efficient business that cranks out 50, 100 grand a month, and is optimized to have ultimate leverage, gets great results, and you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun and make a lot of money. All right. The other, shortly after referral traffic, right? Because people might be like, oh, we don't have that many clients yet and still helping them get results and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. The next type of traffic down, right, is it's also referral traffic. Dan Kennedy calls them upstream leads. It's like you get yourself on a podcast and people spend an hour listening to you, and you pick up all the good authority that the person hosting that podcast has. And podcast I'm just using as like it could be anything. YouTube channel, fucking Facebook story, interview, doesn't matter, right? Like you get referred authority from the person that you speak to their audience, right? Like I've got my trainings in ClickFunnels. I've got my trainings in Legendary. I've done countless interviews at this point, and I try to do them whenever they pop up, assuming it's worth the time, and it's the right audience. Those people are like just a touch under. That traffic is just like a touch under a referred client, because those people are coming, and you're essentially getting the endorsement of the person that you do the interview with, or you do the JV with, or whose course your content is now in, right? And people say referral traffic isn't scalable. That's total shit. It's not scalable if you don't implement strategies and tactics to get more of it, but it's absolutely scalable. You can't like push a button and get more clicks, but you don't need to. As soon as your ads stop running, your traffic stops. If I do an interview a week for 3 years, that traffic's going to flow every single fucking day without me doing anything. And it's going to be good traffic, like good. Nearly the best. The best is when a client goes, hey, Jacob, you should talk to Sally. I told her how you made me 100 grand. That's the best traffic. Next best traffic is where they come through heavily warmed up. So all those factors will mean that you never say to yourself again, I need more strategy sessions. Even one of them will fix that problem. You add them all together, you're never going to have that issue ever again. You're going to make more money, and you're going to have way more fun, and you're going to have way more free time. And you're going to have to find an excuse to hang out in the office. I'm exaggerating slightly, but you get the point. But it's not overnight, right? Like that shit doesn't happen overnight. It took me years to figure this stuff out, and it's an ongoing, constant game. Constant game, right? Communicating with people every day, right? Like you guys got me for an hour here on a Monday morning. Constantly building that system and machine. But you can see how there's more strategy and more tact behind it than just get more strategy sessions. Because that's not the business I wanted to build. There's always another way. You just got to find someone that can help you with it. Okay. So we're closing in on the hour. This has gone way longer than I anticipated. Appreciate the folks that have hung out. I hope you took something away from this. Drop me a message if you want help with any of this stuff. We've got that new beta thing rocking and rolling. That's for folks who want to dial in that core 1K to 10K offer. And my grand evil plan, which I actually say in the little video I've got for the beta thing, is I want folks getting ready for my inner circle. Inner circle is a 12-month thing where we work together long term. We build out your main offering or potentially a couple of offerings, depending on how it shakes out for you, your sales process and your content game, right? And we get that all flowing, right? We can integrate high ticket continuity if that's a path you want to go down. It's really tailored to the individual. But that's my goal for people coming through the beta. Like, full transparent, I want inner circle members, because that's the people that I can work with long term and really, really help out, right? Long term. Like I said, this is a game that is years, not days, not months, right? So this new beta thing is getting people essentially ready for that. They're going to make money. They're going to have fun. They're going to learn a ton of shit in the process. And if at the end of that they don't want to upgrade, that's fine too. Like, no problem. They can take their offer. They can go and sell it in their own way. But yeah, just to be fully transparent with you all. So if you like the way we do things, if you'd be interested in working together more, touch base. We can figure out where the best place for you to start. We've got stuff for like absolute beginners, folks who are further along, have that, like, we'll sort you out. We've got something for you. So just get in touch with me, and we can take it from there. Hopefully you got something out of that one. I would encourage you to rewatch it if you're in this. If you're doing this info stuff, I struggle to believe that there wouldn't be at least one light bulb in there for every person on this call. And I don't say that egotistically. I say that because you just heard years of stuff distilled down into an hour. So appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Get in touch with me if you want help with all this stuff, and we can take it from there. But have an amazing week. Go out, kick ass, crush your goals, and I'll talk to you soon.